Joining me now are two women from the Win with Black Women Collective, Jara Butler, the Chief Impact Officer of Supermajority, and LaTosha Brown, co-founder of the Black Voters Matter Fund. Thank you both for joining me. I really, really appreciate it. Jara, I'm going to start with you. Take me back to that call. Now, what did it feel like to be on that call as you were seeing those numbers of people that were joining that Zoom getting bigger and bigger by the minute? What was that like?
For me, first of all, thank you for having me. But for me, I joined the call pretty regularly. And I knew that if we were, this was a big day, and that was the only place that I wanted to be, because I felt like I just needed to be in community with other Black women. The beauty of the Women with Black Women calls is that we are there, not in I'm not wearing my Chief Impact Officer hat. I'm just there as a Black woman convening with other Black women. And it was a special moment, and that's the phrase that I wanted to be. And I remember logging in early and being told, hey, we're going to have to change some things. And I watched as the conveners so graciously, said, hey, this is getting bigger. This is getting bigger. We've got more speakers. We have more speakers. We have more speakers. For me, it just felt like it was there was something palpable that happened. And I have said this before. I felt like I had the spirit of, Fannie Lou Hamer, Ella Baker, Dorothy Height. But I also felt the spirit of the ancestors. I felt my grandmother, who was the first in her family to be born out of slavery. And I felt her in that moment. And the only time I've ever felt that was on the night that Barack Obama was inaugurated. It felt like peace, but there was also some power behind it. And then there was also there's a little part of you as a Black woman, because you know what's coming. We're going to celebrate right now, but we know that she's going to be attacked. And we know, but it felt like we were in community where we could say that out loud, but we weren't afraid. And that was the most powerful and beautiful thing about convening. But it felt like the earth shook. And it feels like it did. I think that there was a seismic shift, and I truly believe that.
LaTosha, as Jara says, everyone knows what's coming. No? We're already seeing the attacks, but how are you and how is your organization and how is the community now prepared to sort of deal with those attacks?
One, I think similar, my feeling on being on that call, it created a lot of hope, a lot of hope and possibilities. And when you have that, people are ignited. And when people are ignited, they're willing to dig in and invest and do the work. And so we've had so many people to call to say that they want to volunteer and work. And so there's kind of like three things that we're going to do. One, I think this is a moment for us to really take and capture that energy and that momentum and really educate people, to really help people understand who Kamala Harris is, who Vice President Harris is, her record, the things that she's been able to do, and her vision going forward. I also think that this is a moment around really being able to show the contrast between the two different platforms, because ultimately for us, it's not really just about the candidate. It's really around the policies. Like really, what's the agenda? What are the policies that are going to support the communities that we support? The third thing I think is really going to be important is for people to really redirect that energy towards doing the work, getting on the ground, doing the work, writing checks, canvassing, activating them as organizers, and so we can amplify and take this moment, because I do think it's a special moment. People feel it. I feel it. It's something that's in the air, because I think people want fundamental change. And this is a moment that we can actually have fundamental change. It is groundbreaking for there to be a woman, in particular a Black woman, an Asian American woman, to be at the top of the ticket. It is going to shift the political landscape forever in this nation. And we know that in that opportunity. And it opens up the possibility for all of us that have not been seen in this political system, all of us who have done the work and really understand that it's time for a different kind of leadership paradigm.
But I'm thinking of where we were even just a week ago, right, or 2 weeks ago, because I feel like before President Biden even dropped out, he and his allies cited the huge support that he had among Black voters, and even they kept citing his support among the Congressional Black Caucus, right, as one of the several reasons for him to not step out. So I guess how did we go from that to this joy that both of you are describing?
So let me say this. One, I have been doing work on the ground. All of these Trump voters that they've seen, I only see them on TV behind him in a hat and T-shirt. I don't know where those people are. Those are not the people that I've been running into. Is he somebody that's been interested in conversations? There's a difference between conversation and commitment. I've heard people talk about him. I mean, but I've not seen the kind of commitment. So this whole notion that Black people have actually went to Trump, where is that? There was just a poll done in Detroit where he got 0% of Black support. Zero. That didn't just all drop and leave. The truth of the matter is our biggest threat wasn't people leaving, not voting for Biden, going to Trump. Our biggest concern was for people not going to vote, period. That at the end of the day, I think that Trump has exaggerated. Well, we know he exaggerates, that he exaggerated the kind of support. And there's been no evidence that as an organizer, have seen on the ground of all this groundswell of support. What it has done, though, is that this campaign has activated those who felt kind of disinterested in this election. It has activated, ignited young people and voters who have been on the fringes. But I don't think that this is a matter of, and now you see this contrast. So when we're talking about age and all this information around Biden and his age, who looks like the old man now?
Jara, same question to you. Go ahead, because I think what is interesting to do is to break down that joy, right? Because we're not just talking about enthusiasm, right. We're talking about joy, and that's a different right. That has a different mobilizing effect on the ground. Describe that joy. What difference does that make on the ground?
So, I think to LaTosha's point, the Saturday after the debate, Supermajority Education Fund was on the ground walking in Strawberry Mansion in Philadelphia. We were on the ground talking to the same people that we're kind of pontificating about how they're feeling and what they're doing. The fact of the matter is when you actually are talking to community and talking to voters, as we do on a consistent basis, as a matter of fact, today, by the end of this weekend, we will have had over 200 people in events across our 3 states just today. They are energized, they are mobilized. But the thing about it is that there has not been a lot of talking in these communities. And that has shifted. It has shifted. There is an enthusiasm, but enthusiasm doesn't win elections. What wins are talking to voters, talking to them about their values. And that is something that Supermajority does. And we have definitely seen an increase in that enthusiasm, especially among young women, especially among young Black women, because we know that as of 2022, Tufts University Circle Program noted that only 21% of young Black women received any kind of touch by either the major parties, candidates, or group. And we can't afford to do that right now. Mm-hmm. So yes, while the debate performance definitely got everyone nervous, what I did is as an organizer, and what we did as an organization is we picked up a clipboard and we started going out into the community, walking in the humidity. I mean, like I had my hat on, I had my walking shoes, eating an icy, communicating with voters. And I think when you talk to voters, you hear them talking not about the candidates, but my economic well-being is not there. My reproductive freedom is being challenged.
LaTosha, I have just 1 minute, but I think it's important because I think soon we'll be not just talking about the vice president, but also about her running mate. And I think there's this idea, that her running mate must somehow appeal to white, blue-collar swing voters. What do you make of that?
I think that we have to recognize that there are two major shifts. One, there are demographic shifts in the country. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at the country and what we've been used to in terms of a political history, the country is now younger, and the country also has a whole different experience. They're used to seeing women now in places of leadership. There's been a woman in the White House. We had a woman to run for president who actually got more votes than Trump did. Hillary Clinton got more votes. She just didn't get electoral college. My point is there's a different kind. I think that their voters are asking for something different. I think sometimes the same thing that led for Obama got elected because people wanted to see someone outside the Beltway. I also think the same thing happened with Trump, that people wanted to see someone break the mold. So I think that there's a unique opportunity in this moment. And I've written a statement about it and actually an op-ed about it, that I believe this is an opening. It doesn't say that we don't choose a white man, it says that we don't have to just think that that's the only option, that we should look at the bench and who is the best that can carry the agenda, align and excite people and bring folks to the ticket. We need to look in that way. We do not need to literally limit ourselves out of fear and looking at the past, because there's one ticket. If we look at the Republican ticket, there's one ticket that is super masculine. And then there's another ticket that we actually, I think, is more reflective and could be more reflective of the America that we desire and we deserve.
LaTosha, you know where I want to be, where you are right now. I don't know where it is, but it looks beautiful. Jared Butler and LaTosha Brown, thank you both so much. Really appreciate it. And coming up,